There.
There.
What?
No. No. She wasn't ready.
Austin 316 says I just whipped your ass.
Yeah.
Pop, we're back. New Wrestle Talkers. Guys that need a name for a show. We have a special guest, the DJ Lynx.
Thank you for
wrestling
having me,
fan.
Yes.
Something we've all covered in our first episode. DJ, let's just get everybody to know what's your connection to wrestling. Just tell us a little bit. What's wrestling to you? Pro wrestling.
Thank you, sir. First of all, thank you for the opportunity and the invitation to come on here and talk about my passion, wrestling. I've been a wrestling fan since the mid-'80s. I was born in 1980, and I think my first wrestling event, my godparents took me to my first wrestling event, and in the main event, Madison Square Garden, I want to say it was 1986, main event was Macho Man and the adorable Adrian Adonis versus Bruno Sammartino, and I want to say Ricky Steamboat. And that's the first match that I've ever been to in the Madison Square Garden in a steel cage with the blue cage with the squares. It's not like it was now where it's a fence. And just a lifelong wrestling fan up until, I want to say, once Hulk Hogan left WWE, I kind of stopped. So I wasn't a WCW guy at all. I maybe watched 2 episodes of WCW in my entire life. And then when I got the job that I work at now, no, even before that, at my old job, like I hear everybody talking about The Rock. So The Rock, everything's The Rock. And I had to see what it was all about. So my first event, I ordered the pay-per-view that year, which was Judgment Day 2001, I want to say, or Judgment Day 2000, rather. I'm sorry. Okay. And since then, I was hooked. And I'm excited to talk about it because I am a big wrestling fan. I dipped in and out over the last couple of years. When AEW came back, I was like knee deep in AEW. And then now with Triple H running WWE, this is the most excited I've been over the WWE product in years. Like, I feel the booking is absolutely fantastic in WWE right now. Storytelling that makes sense. Go figure.
Yeah. And that's what I've been saying that brought me back. It makes sense. It doesn't make me embarrassed to watch it.
Yeah. Obviously, you have your, comedy matches and stuff like that, but
yeah. And some of the stuff's goofy, and they talk more than I want to. And that whole thing where they start a match and immediately go to a commercial will always piss me off. But
will he survive?
Yeah. So, Biggie, how you doing this week?
Doing good. Glad to be here. Royal Rumble. I got some good Royal Rumble memories. I think it's interesting how, I don't know if y'all know how many number ones have won a Royal Rumble. I could think of 2. Is there more than 2? 3? There's 3? Oh, interesting.
Start typing them out, Pop.
Yeah, let me know. I know of 2 of them. There's HBK and Ric Flair.
And I want to say Vince McMahon.
Vince, wow.
That's
a hell of a guess.
I might be 100% wrong.
I'm not as savvy on the wrestling knowledge. I love it, and I love the old stuff and the territories. But as far as WWE history, I get real dicey in the late 90s through the mid 2000s.
Yeah,
I've been in and out like DJ. I've been in and out over the years.
I've sat and watched shoot interviews, almost every shoot. So I know just shit that people don't even talk about. So, like, I know some shit, but like anything new, I'm not very good at. But I know enough to get by. Like, I know Triple H is in charge. I know HBK's booking. I know Hook battled Samoa Joe. Yeah, he's pretty much the main booker, though, right?
In NXT, yeah. So HBK is completely
just NXT. Yeah. I've been hearing HBK's like running shit, but okay.
No, so he's just doing NXT. He's solely.
I'm sure he has some input. I mean, Hunter and him. It's not like they don't talk.
Yeah.
So what are we going to talk about tonight, Beck? You You said you had some shit lined up for us, big dog.
Yeah. So the first topic that we're on right now, we've got the Royal Rumble coming up, not this weekend, but next weekend.
Over the top,
sending people over the top rope like it's a Pete Petrie auction.
Yes.
I love the Rumble. My wife and I love the Rumble. Even when we weren't watching WWE, every once in a while, there was a year where something happened during the pay-per-view Royal Rumble before they went to the modern setup, where they ended up having to show it for free the next night on Raw because they lost the feed or something.
Oh, wow.
And we ended up watching that. And that kind of got us back in for a while with WWE. And then after this topic, we will talk about WrestleMania. You know, with Royal Rumble, one of the topics I want to say is MJF going to show up? There are rumors. I don't think it's going to happen, but it could happen. Right, Pop? Pop thinks it's going to happen. I do not. Biggie, prediction. Will MJF show up at Royal Rumble?
I hope he does, because I've been wanting to see this dude fail so long, bro. I can't stand that guy, bro. I really hope he does.
Why?
He's the fucking shits.
Ooh. So Biggie thinks MJF is the shit. I don't like goofy, like Adam Cole in a Chinese restaurant vignettes.
Yeah, that was terrible.
MJF. That was bad.
Yeah.
They hurt my feelings over that.
He's getting worse the more he gets exposed. Whenever he first came out and he was edgy, it was like, oh yeah, fucking MJF's the fucking future. As time goes by, people were seeing the turd I knew he was from the beginning. So we'll see. We will see.
DJ, does MJF show up?
I hope so, just for the surprise of it. I think one of the special things in the Royal Rumble are the surprises, and we've been lacking that over the couple of years. The last great Rumble, in my opinion, was when AJ Styles showed up. And he came out, I popped big, super surprised how they kept that on the low. I hope MJF shows up just for, like I said, for the surprise of it. I actually think he's a good wrestler and he's a fantastic talker. He will look like he's like 5'1", though, in a WWE ring.
Yeah. You know who I'd put him up against right away just to see the heel versus babyface promos? LA Knight on a mic versus MJF.
That'll be a great rub for both of them.
That would be an awesome feud. Yeah, so I guess it's 3 against 1. I don't see it happening. I think he's secretly signed with AEW, but we'll find out. That's the great thing about the surprises. I was gonna say when I talk Rumble with my wife, her favorite guy in the Rumble for years, because Jill and I have been together like since 2003, 2002. So we've watched a lot of wrestling together, and she always liked Road Dogg's ways to like hide.
Yeah. Oh shit, Road Dogg under the ring and stuff.
Yeah.
That's hilarious. I've never been to a Royal Rumble. I know they had one at MSG, but I was out of it. Even when I fell out of love with wrestling and stuff like that, when I had my other job, I always watched the Rumble. I bought the pay-per-view and I bought WrestleMania. Even if it was like a card that I didn't know shit about, I just know that at WrestleMania, they're going to put it all on the line and give the best performance that they can athletically in the ring. And yes, it would just be like, hey, WrestleMania's on, let's watch WrestleMania, but you haven't watched wrestling all year. Who cares? Like, it's WrestleMania.
I'm jealous that you have those garden memories, because that is a place I would love to catch a wrestling show at, just because that's WWE headquarters. That was Vince McMahon's house.
Yeah. That's the first thing we should emphasize, is that DJ's from New York. He's close to Madison Square Garden, so it's very historical.
He's allegedly from New York. I've never seen him on the streets of New York. He's always in this room.
Hey, I almost got stabbed today, so I think you can tell from New York. No, thank you for pointing that out, Big. Yeah, so growing up here in New York, Madison Square Garden is a stone's throw away, and all the events that I went to up until the Barclays Center was built, was all the wrestling was in MSG, and then WWE got into a deal with the Barclays Center where their public TV stuff is in the Barclays Center, but the house shows are at MSG. There aren't any house shows in the Barclays Center.
Right.
and all the house shows are at MSG, and I've been to at MSG. I want to say like more than 50, like between pay-per-views. I've never went to a Raw at MSG or a SmackDown, but between pay-per-views and house shows, like MSG was the place to be. And I'll tell you a quick story, and interrupt me if I'm talking too much. You know,
no, go.
After 9/11, so the tragedy of 9/11 happened in 2001, and all sports across the country in any large venues were shut down. And I had tickets for a house show for the first week in October, and that was the first like arena event to happen since 9/11. And I remember going, we were just like, yo, what's gonna happen, blah blah blah. And all the wrestlers came out on the stage. Well, house shows, they don't have like the big stage, but all the wrestlers came out, and Vince McMahon came out and he spoke. And then Mick Foley came out, right? So this was after Mick Foley had retired, and he came out to welcome everybody to Madison Square Garden. There's going to be a special event. And that night, what they did was put on the entire card that happened at the WrestleMania in April. So it was a sneak peek of that WrestleMania. The main event was Stone Cold versus The Rock at this house show.
Damn. Yeah, you guys always get the best stuff. You got CM Punk's first match with Dominic. Now, you weren't at that, I know.
I did look at tickets. Tickets were going crazy. Nosebleeds were like $300. And then like lower bowl, and this is the house show.
I love CM Punk, but no way.
Lower bowl were like $1,300. I was not going to do that for like a house show or anything like that. Maybe a pay-per-view, but not for a house show.
What do you like? If you mind me asking, what would you normally expect to pay when you go to those garden house shows?
To a garden house show, I haven't been there in a long time, but I would expect if I'm going to sit lower bowl, at a house show, lower bowl, maybe $200, maybe $250 at the most. For comparison, at the Barclays Center, the last event I was there, I went to the last SummerSlam and then the following night Raw. So I went to SummerSlam like a loser by myself, and I sat lower bowl, first row, and I paid $600 for my ticket. But it was but it was lower bowl. I was right there on camera. Like, you see me looking like a fool.
Is that the most you spent? Have you spent more than that before?
On a single ticket for myself, yes. But then like the Raw after that, I spent almost as much. But then I took my wife and my daughter, like, because I felt bad because I was just like, yo, I'm going to the pay-per-view. And they were just like, yo, yeah. I was like, knit me some socks or something.
I'm going to take myself out to dinner.
But at that time, I was just like, this is going to be my last wrestling event ever. I want to go out with a bang, SummerSlam. And I was just like, hey, let's go to Raw the next day. So, that was pretty dope.
Yeah, man. Biggie, any shows you've hit over the years? Have you ever been to WWE?
Well, we had a WCW territory in my town, and they used to come to our middle school, and I've seen a lot of WCW guys. But I've kind of went over my history. I mostly my stepdad was the first person he worked for the cable company and put in all the digital cable back in the day. So all the early '90s up into thousands, I got to watch every pay-per-view for free and shit like that. But I think we should focus on DJ because he's here, and we can get some good juicy DJ Link stuff. I know who your favorite wrestler is, but I ain't gonna spoil it. I'll let y'all. I do want to
go around and just do a couple more predictions for the Royal Rumble, and then we'll go into some WrestleMania talk and talk about the WrestleMania DJ went to, the one Pop went to, and the one I went to. All three different ones. Kevin Owens versus Logan Paul. I mean, we're all pretty much agreed Logan Paul's going to have that title going into WrestleMania, I would think. So Owens is going to put him over. Does Logan Paul matter in wrestling is my question for each of you. Is this guy really bringing eyeballs to the product anymore? I don't know. I like him. He seems to be very athletic. He saved Rey Mysterio's life, so I'm good with him.
A lot of people would have done that. I'm going to say that I am a Paul fan, but every time he gets a chance to be looked at as a normal human being, he tends to mess that up. And I'm more of a Jake Paul fan than Logan. Logan would absolutely trounce over Jake to get some limelight. So I'm not big on Logan, bro, but he does bring some teeny boppers to watch. I'll give him that much. But is he important to wrestling? We can get on with him. He is talented, though. The dude can do crazy shit, bro. He can do crazy shit.
We don't need any more part-time guys, though. We don't need any more guys that wrestle 4 times a year being champs. I'm done with it. DJ.
Yeah. I agree with that. We don't need any more part-timers coming in, especially like these pseudo celebrities. But I feel that Logan Paul is special because he's just like an athletic, naturally gifted freak. His match with Ricochet was insane. Even the match he had with Roman Reigns at the Saudi Arabia show. So I'm going in there thinking it's going to be like a celebrity type match, like whatever. Yo, and the kid could get busy. I don't like him as a person. But
that helps. He's good on the mic.
He is. That's what I'm saying. Like, he's like just naturally gifted, like a crazy athlete. Is he bringing eyeballs? I think when he first started, yes. But I think the novelty of that is over. So I don't know. But I think he is incredibly gifted in the ring. And I tend to lean toward those wrestlers that can put on a good show.
Anybody in the chat, you want to say anything about this? We'll read it. Just let us know. Logan Paul, does he matter?
There's one more thing I'd like to say before you just give your opinion, Becker, if you don't mind.
I already gave mine.
Oh, I'm sorry. Well, the one more thing I want to bring up is that I kind of I don't enjoy seeing him doing any physical activities because I know that when he was a high school wrestler, he actually cracked his skull. I don't know if y'all knew that. Oh yeah.
No.
Yeah, he's got a. Oh yeah, he had a hole cracked in his fucking skull. So yeah, it's crazy. But I just worry about the guy, like boxing, wrestling, all that stuff. You know.
Wow, I did not know that.
I didn't either. And we can only evaluate the few matches he's had, but they're all bangers. Like the guy's not bringing the product down by being there. I'll give him that. Yeah,
it's not like you're, run-of-the-mill celebrity turned wrestler. It's not like Snooki in the ring. You know what I'm saying? Like he can actually move, which is
it's not David Arquette.
Yeah, it's not David Arquette. Well, back in the day, David Arquette, I think his Nick Gage match proved that he was a wrestler.
Did it? Do you know that one of his teeth is in Danhausen's tooth collection?
Wow, that is hilarious.
Yeah.
Shout out to Danhausen. I met Danhausen at New York Comic Con this past October.
I met him a few years ago at C2E2.
Yeah, cool guy.
Yeah, he wasn't in character when I met him, so it's kind of weird.
Yeah, it was weird. He was walking by, and this was before the doors opened, so I had my camera set up because I was filming with Nomas, and he passed by, and I was just like, yo, Danhausen! He was like, what's up? And I was just like, so it was super weird, like, to talk to him.
I paid to meet him, and he didn't do the character, so I was kind of disappointed.
Oh, wow. No, and he came on, did a video, he, like, put a hex on me and everything, but he wasn't in character.
Oh, I do remember this.
Yeah.
So let me see. I'm missing...
Facts, Papa. Facts. Not anymore, though. Not anymore.
Yeah, she just looks like she's constantly got a low-grade fever. Roman Reigns, Randy Orton, AJ Styles, LA Knight. Is anybody but Roman Reigns winning that? No.
Absolutely not. Like, it's
Biggie?
Especially going into WrestleMania season. I'm sorry, go ahead, Big.
Oh, so has anybody beaten Roman Reigns? No, me and Becker and Pop have talked to this to exhaustion. They can't stand my opinion on this, but my opinion is.
Mind your opinion.
Okay, well, I'll give it one more time. So, so it's going to be. I told Becker this like 2 months ago, and I reminded him. I told him this. I said it's going to be Rock and Roman. Okay, Rock and Roman, and then. I know everybody's going to think he's geriatric and there's no way, but the best angle, the biggest angle there is Hogan's record. I've been telling people, that is what it's all about at this point. So I don't know if Hogan's going to come back as a freaking special referee. He might get one more match in. Oh, he can't do the leg drop. Hogan can do whatever he wants. If Hogan had, I've heard rumblings. Now, I'm not just saying this because I want it. I'm saying it because I've heard Hogan wants it. Hogan says he wants one more match in WWE. He ain't happy about how he ended his career in TNA. So in my mind, it's there, bro. It's on a platter. They were even talking about his 40th anniversary or something not that long ago, and we were talking about the car getting flipped, and he saved some little 17-year-old girl and PR, and that's just my opinion. The Hogan streak has something to do with the Roman thing. That's how I feel. Fuck it.
Pop says Roman and Priest cashes in and loses like a bitch.
Senior Money in the Bank's gonna lose at Rumble. Or at Mania, at Rumble, okay.
At Rumble. That's an interesting take, Biggie. I didn't think about that. That would be awesome.
But they have too many stars at this point.
So that's the only thing that I would like kind of push back on. And it's like, I don't think they're all about getting rid of anything that Vince McMahon did. And Hulk Hogan is the definition of Vince McMahon wrestling. And clearly one of the most iconic wrestlers, if not the most iconic wrestler. I don't know if Triple H would do that. I mean, you do what's best for business.
Yeah, if it's going to draw money, which it would draw mega money.
Yeah, that's super interesting. I'm not against that at all. That's a fantastic.
You got to think too, though. Okay, first of all, it's the streak. Okay, second of all, Rock and Hogan had an epic. So you got the rematch there too. So there's two definite gimmicks that they could work.
And you don't necessarily have to have them wrestle to have them involved.
Yeah, you can.
That's one thing that Biggie said that it's starting to sink in that they could try to work them in some way.
Like how they
necessary.
Yeah, he can have like a representative fight on his behalf if he's not going to be able to wrestle or do a move. Because at the end of the day, like with, let's say, Hogan and Shawn Michaels, like Shawn Michaels was the seller there. Like Hogan could barely move. A Roman Hogan match wouldn't do anything like athletically because they're both like super, super stiff. So you need that guy that's going to bounce around the ring and oversell like Shawn Michaels did, which was hilarious.
Oh, God.
You could see Hogan getting pissed in that match. It was like hilarious.
But yeah, WWE's got the stars right now.
Yeah.
And astronomically speaking, AEW is a black hole.
Yeah. No, but that's a fantastic idea, Biggie. I would do that. I will bring in Hogan just because like start mentioning
I don't know what else makes more sense than that. I can't think of anything that, I mean, it's CM Punk. I think CM Punk and Stone Cold have a better chance of wrestling than CM Punk and Roman. Wrestling's always been inherently like racist to a point too. So I feel like it almost has to be a Samoan.
almost.
I don't know, bro. At this point, like,
no, I think Vince is pretty racist.
Yeah,
definitely, bro. So the head of the table comes into the gimmick. It's all about the gimmick, bro, and it's not going to work unless people say, "Oh, that makes sense." It has to make sense. So
does the Bloodline
what makes
need
sense?
Another member?
I'm sorry?
Does the Bloodline need another member?
I'm surprised they haven't brought in like a female.
I think they need to bring in Jacob Fatu.
Oh,
now that the lawsuit's done with MLW, and the fact that WWE didn't want to bring him in when his gun charge was fresh. Okay, I get it. But it's been like 9 years since he caught that charge, or 11. I think I'm willing to say that you've forgiven people of worse WWE. So, I mean, if AEW can put Nick Gage on TV, we can put Jacob Fatu on. And that dude's amazing if you've ever seen him wrestle.
I think back to the Roman thing. I was watching something yesterday or the day before yesterday where they released like his premium live event schedule. So he's doing Mania, the Saudi Arabia show, SummerSlam, and I want to say Survivor Series. So he's only doing 4 pay-per-views this year, which is insane. And he's the champ. So
I'm over that.
Yeah. So I think they have to take the belt off of him at WrestleMania.
Remember when you saw the champ every week?
There's 2 other people that I'm glossing over. I know nobody wants to hear this either, but Goldberg was promised a retirement match when he gave the strap to Roman. and he ain't got it. And then you got Brock Lesnar. Brock Lesnar is also a little candidate. That I mean, he's a part timer, but what is Roman at this point? He shows up for little interviews, but he don't wrestle that much, so he's pretty much a part timer. So,
did you hear the story about Goldberg in Saudi Arabia?
Yeah, they did not do great. I think it was mutual between Taker and him, but they both stunk it up. Yes.
With his match with Roman. So apparently,
Roman.
Yeah. So I was seeing a shoot interview with Goldberg when he lost to Roman in Saudi Arabia. So Goldberg had COVID, and he couldn't whatever. And Vince McMahon was just like, "No, we need you go to Saudi Arabia." So the dude has like legit COVID. And Vince McMahon promised him his retirement match. He was just like,
"That's exactly what I'm talking about." Yeah,
retirement match. He went over, fucked up a guy that's in remission from lymphoma or whatever Roman Reigns had, fighting this guy that has full blown COVID, and Vince McMahon reneged on his deal with Goldberg. So in that same interview, Goldberg was just like, "Yo, Vince McMahon's a piece of shit."
Yeah, I don't know if that Triple H could make that right if they wanted to do something with Goldberg. I just don't know if they will. Speaking of Goldberg, the last pay-per-view I've been to was 2016's Fastlane when Kevin Owens dropped the Universal title to Goldberg in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. And it was a crappy match, and I left making fun of it. It was awful. Chris Jericho interfered, and
yeah, I felt so bad for Kevin Owens, man, because Kevin Owens for me has always been great. Like he's always had that indie style. So I want him to succeed on the big stage and stuff like that. And when they just fed him to Goldberg, I just no,
it's like a bowling pin that can move, though.
Yeah, no, he's super agile.
Like, he's got great moves.
Yeah, shout out to Goldberg.
And he made Cena made him look. That match they had,
bro,
where that was the crazy. I thought, I was like, oh my God, Kevin Owens is going to be a superstar, and then it kind of just never developed.
It didn't go anywhere.
That one match they had, dude, was crazy, bro.
They had 3 matches in a row. And all 3 of those matches, for me, that was Cena's best in-ring wrestling. Like, he was doing moves. He did a Canadian Destroyer. He was doing shit from the top rope. Like that. Those 3 matches, thank you for bringing that up. Those 3 matches were fantastic. And then it was just, they put him with Sami Zayn and put him with Chris Jericho and then turned him into a comedy dude. So it's just like, after that, it's hard to kind of take him serious.
And he always, like, whenever he starts working his way back up, the second he gets input, all of a sudden that guy's wrestling Sami Zayn.
Yeah.
And I know, I get it. You guys are friends. You're best friends. And, when they're 50, they'll probably still want to do matches against each other. But I've seen the match. I've seen it too many times. I don't want to see it anymore.
Agreed.
Goldberg. Oh, Georgia Bulldogs. Okay.
So, if I may say another story,
sure, man.
So about Goldberg. So I always thought Goldberg was an asshole. So he just has this aura of being like an asshole. And I was in the city. Raw was in town at Madison Square Garden that night. I worked literally right around the corner. It was a music store called Coconuts that turned into FYE, which is the music movie store. And then I worked literally around the corner. There was a signing at that Coconut. So it was Triple H where he was in Evolution with the long, flattened hair and shit, stupid ass mustache. Triple H, Randy Orton, Ric Flair, and Goldberg. So I must have just came out the train station. I'm literally walking and I see all of them come out of Coconuts. And I was just like, oh shit, Triple H, whatever. They all just get in the limo and they just ignore the crowd. So I don't know if that's just heel stuff or they were in a rush. Goldberg literally stopped to talk to every single person that stopped him and took a picture and was the nicest guy in the world. Granted, this is when he just came to WWE. But I was so surprised. I was like, oh, I was completely wrong. Nicest guy in the world to all these kids.
I've heard that his interactions are very solid with people, that he's very mindful of his fans.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I've heard.
He speared me. Pause.
Biggie, you watch a lot of behind the scenes stuff. What have you heard about Goldberg?
Oh, he's a terror to work with. His early years, he didn't know difference between a wrist lock and a wristwatch. He's just not very. I mean, he's athletic. He's a brute, but not very impressive in the ring. I mean, he did have the charisma. He had the personality. He wasn't the greatest on the mic. But it was a fun time watching him destroy people. When he hit people, he hit them hard. And he was stronger
Including
than a
Bret
freaking
Hart.
ox. Yeah, I've rewatched that, and there's a great Richardson. What's his name? Richardson. He was in the BWO.
Blue Meanie?
Not Blue Meanie, the skinny one.
Stevie
The
Richards.
one that was
Stevie
like
Richards.
Stevie Richards. He does an excellent breakdown of it, and he actually thinks that Bret Hart was concussed before the kick, because you could tell, like, when Bret Hart's working and selling, he's one of the greatest sellers there are, and there was just something not right about that match, bro. And I'm not sure the kick really did it to him, but anyways, Goldberg. I think Bret Hart's a little bitter too. Like, I'm not the biggest Bret Hart guy,
Yeah.
but he's great. Don't get me wrong.
I'm gonna
Go ahead,
stop
DJ.
right there, Biggie, and I'm gonna say I agree with you 100%. I can't stand Bret Hart. He's just fucking.
I like him,
boring.
but I do
He
think
is
he
the
needs
most
to let it go.
boringest, not over champion ever in history. Boring as shit.
I can't argue against it, bro. Like, I don't know if he ever drew a dime, really.
Bro,
Like,
terrible.
That's what Ric Flair says.
Bro, the biggest
know.
waste of money that WCW ever spent was on Bret Hart.
I can agree with that.
Man, I love Bret.
It was fun watching Goldberg, but I wouldn't say he's a good wrestler. That's just how I feel, bro. He's not a good wrestler. Fuck it.
He took the hurting people serious. Like
Yeah.
you know, like he wanted to go in there. He wanted to kill people. It's impossible for them to beat me because I'm Goldberg. And I get a lot of the criticism for him came for the boys in the back because he didn't take the time to want to learn the business and stuff like that. But he was all about his money, and he would just come in, do his thing if he was on the top of the card, and go home. Whereas, you know, you have to stick around, watch the other matches, pay your dues. But what I can say, he's probably the best, the biggest homegrown thing that WCW ever created.
Well, guys, Lil Shaq fell asleep, so I'm going to tag out. But I'm really appreciative that DJ Lynx has came to be our first guest on Wrestle Talk. Thank you, DJ. I appreciate you. I'm going to hop in the chat, and I'm going to let y'all take control of it. And I'll see you later, Pop.
Thank you,
Later,
Biggie, as
Becker.
always.
Thank you, Big.
Thank you, guys.
So, Goldberg, the one interesting thing about him, though, is he did have a relationship with his power plant trainers. And one of the people he wanted to lose to, this is a real thing. He floated the idea of Bobby Eaton ending the streak. Like a 53-year-old Bobby Eaton, because Bobby worked with him in the power plant, and he respected him.
That's crazy. But
and
then
he knew Bobby was going to retire.
Yeah, see, that doesn't make any sense to me. Only from a business perspective, you're always supposed to pay it forward. Backward.
Because he's got a football player's mentality. He does not have like somebody. He's not savvy to the business. Like we've said, like we talked about Logan Paul. Logan Paul looks at wrestling and he gets it. Goldberg never cared to get it, I don't think.
Yeah, it was just a paycheck for him. Go in, smash some bodies, get a paycheck, and leave. Which I mean, I can appreciate just from the aesthetics of it. Fucking diesel ass dude with some crazy traps coming in, destroying somebody and leaving. Super unique. Until what's his name? William Regal exposed him.
Real briefly, I don't know. Pop, do you have any opinion on the women's Royal Rumble match? Like, is there anybody you want to see win it? Type it out. I will say this: I'm with the crotchety Jim Cornette on this one. I don't like 2 Rumbles back to back on the same pay-per-view card. Even when you split them up, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
In a 3-hour period, I'm going to have to watch 2 Rumbles. It's like having dinner before you have dinner.
Yeah, it's a lot. I think for the women's Rumble, I think they shortened the time increments to go to the
and they do 20, I think.
No, I think it's 30.
Is it 30? Oh,
I think so.
Do they have 30 women that I recognize?
For the women's Rumble in the last couple of years, they've relied heavily. Like 10 of those were like surprise entrants or alumni entrants. You had Alundra Blaze, Lita.
I'm gonna have to watch Dewdrop or Piper Niven or whatever the hell.
Piper Niven. Yeah, so it's not a lot.
Dropping her satchel ass on people. Jesus.
Like Charlotte is on the shelf. Obviously, Rhea can't get in. She's the women's champ. There's rumblings of Trinity coming back. Sasha, thank you, Papa. Sasha Banks might show up. Bailey, who's been out for a little while. I think the women's match, they always lean towards surprises. Last year, which was a big deal that nobody talks about, Mickie James was in the Rumble, who at the time was the TNA Knockouts champion. They just couldn't.
And she's Nick Aldis's wife.
Yeah, I could see her making maybe a surprise appearance. They did it before. What they call that? Forbidden Door appearance.
Mm-hmm. Pop, who wins the women's Rumble?
That's a good.
Well, he thinks about that. I don't know. Like, so Charlotte won't be in it.
Mm-hmm.
Becky Lynch, maybe.
I
don't know. I don't know who needs to win the Rumble. Maybe Nia Jax.
I think if Sasha's coming back, Sasha,
if she comes back.
Mm-hmm.
Bailey's back, but Bailey's been jobbed out so much. Everybody, I mean,
yeah, I think if it's not
Sasha, beaten more than whipped cream.
And I love some whipped cream. I think if it's not Sasha, it's it has to be Becky, which is like, but I think it might be Sasha.
So the men's Rumble. We talked about MJF.
Yes, sir.
Cody's got a story to finish, but wait, no, he has a match, so he's fighting Roman. Or is he? No, he's in the Rumble. He's in the Rumble.
Cody's in the Rumble. Yeah.
So he's got a story to finish. CM Punk's got his thing. Who wins the Rumble?
The men's Rumble. It's funny because they're positioning it that anybody could win, right? So you got CM Punk, you got Cody, and then Drew McIntyre. So there's already 3 people which is a smart way to do it. Don't just put a clear winner out there. Possibly The Rock. They hinted at Rock versus Roman at Mania. If that happens, Rock comes in. Yes, brother Joe. Gail
Cargill.
Yeah,
she's injured.
She is?
Jade Cargill's injured.
Oh, I thought they were keeping her off TV for the Rumble.
She had one NXT house show match and got injured.
Wow, what a luck of the draw.
And what's it say about AEW's development that woman had to go not to NXT, but to the Performance Center? And they were like, you're not as far along as we had hoped.
That's terrible. And it's funny because I thought they were keeping her off TV for the Rumble to make her like grand debut. I think
that might have been the plan, but
yeah. So anybody could win the men's Royal Rumble. Who I want to see win, I know it's not going to be CM Punk because I would like to see CM Punk versus Seth Rollins main event night 1 or night 2 of the WrestleMania. I want to say The Rock. If The Rock does come back, The Rock wins. Do you think he's coming back, Papa? Do you think The Rock will show up? Oh shit, Alexa Bliss.
Oh,
I didn't even think about her.
Well, maybe I had heard she was injured.
You know who I want?
But I'm not seeing it,
and I'm gonna pop big if they show up. I could see like Kofi or Xavier Woods getting beat by the dude from freaking whatever, or Gunther, let's say, and Big E comes in as the next entrant to help Kofi or Xavier Woods.
That would be cool.
Yeah, that would be amazing, man, for Big E to come back. I don't know if he's been cleared. I think they might have even said he might not wrestle again, but that'll still be cool.
Yeah, I dig it. I love him.
Dig it.
So let's talk about our final time, WrestleMania. All three of us have been to one WrestleMania each.
Mm-hmm.
Pop, while you type yours out, for each of us, let's just have a WrestleMania memory. What stuck out to you? What was your favorite match for the WrestleMania you went to? And which one was it? So start with you, DJ.
Thank you, sir. So I went to WrestleMania 20 at Madison Square Garden, and I actually have the program still. Yeah, so I went downstairs before this in the closet, and I dug this out. So this is the actual program from WrestleMania 20. It's a pretty thick book.
Any signatures in it?
No, so no signatures. It's funny because it has like the card from WrestleMania 1, the story of WrestleMania, a whole bunch of stuff. Then it gets into, when you start getting to the WrestleMania 20 card, it has all the matches like this, spreads that way. John Cena when he beat Big Show for the U.S. title when he was still rapping. Undertaker when he came back, so he was in the Buried Alive match, I think at the Royal Rumble, or before it was the Elimination Chamber in December, whatever pay-per-view that was. And then he came back as the Dead Man, which it looked cool on TV, but it was like super disappointing in person because he was the Dead Man, but he just had the duster and the hat. So people thought he was going to come back as the Phenom Undertaker, but he didn't. This is going to sound weird, or it's just praising a guy who did what he did, but I've always dug the wrestler Chris Benoit. The real life Benoit is a piece of shit that hopefully is burning in hell. But the wrestler Benoit, I've always had an affinity for him. Small guy, whatever.
Is that your favorite wrestler that Biggie mentioned?
My favorite wrestler of all time, believe it or not, is Triple H.
Okay.
Like I Triple H, like the psychology that he brings in the ring and just his wherewithal, and for him to be in the business, fantastic matches, puts it all on the line, tears his quad and tells Jericho, let's do the spot still, puts him in the walls of Jericho. But that Benoit Triple H Shawn Michaels match was absolutely fantastic. One of my favorite matches, super emotional. And then when Eddie Guerrero came out once Benoit won, and then they let the confetti out in the arena, that was special. Another highlight for that, and it was just because it was funny, was Brock Lesnar versus Goldberg with Stone Cold Steve Austin as the special guest referee. And that was because they booed them out the building. So Brock was leaving to go to the Minnesota Vikings, and Goldberg, that was the last match on his contract. So I guess in the dirt sheets back then, this is way before like everything really exploded on the internet. People knew that they were leaving, and they were so many boos. So the WrestleMania 20 that you see on Peacock and on the DVD are edited, so you don't feel the full impact of the boos. Like it was like Dominic Mysterio level heat for both Brock Lesnar and
yeah, I remember that. Yeah, Lesnar was hated.
Both of them, dude. It was that that Stone Cold, you sold out. Like the whole, it was crazy. And then what happened was they're there in the ring, Goldberg and Lesnar, and they're just staring at each other for like 8 minutes, and Stone Cold's just laughing. And it's just like, what do you do? Like, let's just take it home and get out of here. Yeah, no, that WrestleMania was absolutely fantastic. And I went by myself to that like a loser.
What is with you going to big matches by yourself? Is it the price?
No, it's not really the price. What happens is it's like, so like Mrs. Lynx and I, we would go to a lot of house shows, and she was into it like big time. But like for WrestleMania, like I wanted to get a close seat, and it was just like either I go by myself and get a close seat, or I go with you and I sit far away. And I was just like, you don't watch it enough. Like I'm just gonna go by myself. Yeah, and it was dope, man. It was absolutely dope. I think another big thing, and I don't know if you guys ever seen, Papa or Mike, ever seen like Scotty 2 Hotty and Rikishi and Too Cool when they would do the dance.
Oh yeah,
that was so
seen it at house shows even,
bro. And the worm, Yo, oh my God, I loved it. That shit was so over. Stupid, but it was like super, super over with the crowd.
So my WrestleMania was in Chicago. And that was WrestleMania 22.
Nice.
The last one they ran. But for a Triple H fan, that was where John Cena beat Triple H for the world title.
Yep.
Didn't like the main event. I was looking it up while you were talking where it was on the card. And I think it was the third match of the night.
Triple H versus Cena?
No, fourth match of the night. Hardcore match. Edge with Lita defeats Mick Foley. Stole the damn show. The flaming table.
Flaming table. Yeah.
Buddy, I didn't get to be at Hell in the Cell. But that is a top tier, like, obviously mixed matches go Hell in the Cell. Then there's like 50-foot drop off. And then there's every other Mick Foley match. But that's a good one.
I think that's Mick Foley's best match ever. Like Hell in the Cell, that was a stunt. That wasn't wrestling. Like you literally got like what, maybe 2 minutes worth of wrestling in that.
And we were near the front of the balcony. So smaller venue. It was in the Rosemont Allstate, 17,000 something outside of Chicago, right where they did the Comic-Con. So my crew was super familiar. We had a huge group that went. There's like 6 of us total. We kind of were spread out over 3 rows because of tickets being hard to get. The people behind me was Shelton Benjamin's family. It was everybody but his mother. His mother was down below. By the way, I saw her at one point in the night. She came up. That was not the lady that later on played Shelton Benjamin's mother.
Yeah. Mama.
But yeah, Mick versus Edge was really good match.
Yeah.
RVD, I remember. That's the shirt I was wearing that night because I was always a big RVD fan.
Can I interject? Speaking of RVD, so I was at the Elimination Chamber. I think it's Shawn Michaels won, and he won the belt that night. So this is when he came out, and he had like the brown outfit. It looked terrible. If I remember correctly, he won. But it was the Elimination Chamber. It was Shawn Michaels, Triple H, and RVD, where RVD jumped off one of the pods and crushed Triple H's larynx. So as that's happening, the Xers are going up. They're catering in Triple H. Crushed larynx continues on for 30 minutes in the match. Oof. Triple H. That dude, he's insane. Yeah, they try to replicate that Mick Foley spot with Edge on at the AEW pay-per-view and didn't quite work out the way they wanted it to.
Trying to find the other matches of that night. Yeah, there we go. So my card was the opener was World Tag Team Championship match. Big Show and Kane defeated Carlito and Chris Masters. Money in the Bank ladder match. RVD beats Shelton Benjamin, Ric Flair, Finlay, Matt Hardy, and Bobby Lashley. U.S. Championship match. Bradshaw with Jillian Hall defeats Chris Benoit. Edge beat Mick Foley. Handicap match. The Boogeyman defeated Booker T and Sharmell.
Wow.
Women's match. Mickie James beat Trish Stratus for the title. Casket match. Undertaker defeats Mark Henry. No holds barred match. Michaels defeats McMahon. World Heavyweight Championship triple threat match. Rey Mysterio wins the title off of Randy Orton and Kurt Angle. Well, Kurt Angle was champ, but the WCW belt, he beats him. He beats Orton and Angle. I remember that was pretty good too. And then in a Playboy pillow fight, Tori Wilson defeats Candice Michelle Pops fist pump. I felt it in my soul.
Puppies!
And then the final was WWE Championship match. Cena defeats Triple H. But Cena came out in the Al Capone style.
In the car.
Ride. And CM Punk was one of the gangsters riding on the side of the vehicle.
That's funny. Papa, who was do you remember the main event of that WrestleMania 26? I can't remember off the top of my head. Or what was your favorite match on that card? Only time I ever cried was when Earthquake and Yoko crushed Hogan.
Okay.
Oh wow.
Oh, interesting. Oh, you were at the Hart McMahon CM Punk. Jericho defeats Edge.
Hey,
oh, you were at one of the Undertaker Michaels matches. Career match.
Oh wow. Oh wow.
Yeah, that's pretty huge.
Yeah, that was a big one. So Undertaker, Michaels went on after the championship. Not to get off topic or anything like that. What do you think about matches that aren't associated with a title going on last?
I don't like it. But in that case, I was fine with it for Shawn Michaels' retirement. Mm-hmm. Because really, do you want to do your match after theirs? Mm-hmm. They made that mistake once.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I agree. But
they knew those guys were going to blow the doors off.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Other than that, like something like a special like that, or like a rock, like a rock match coming back or whatever. But other than that, I feel like the title should definitely go on last, no matter what.
Yeah, and God, it sucks that there's multiple titles, but the one that matters, the linear champion, should always go last. Like Roman Reigns. Nowadays, it's different because they, with it being on the cock, I mean the peacock, it goes 2 nights, so you can have both titles do their thing.
Yeah, if it works, yes, but title,
Edge can. I'm just reading some of these comments now, brother John. Mm-hmm. Edge can work with anyone and make them look good. And Mick is already really good on his own. But at that point, Mick, like I remember going into that, Mick didn't have a lot of heat. He had left, come back. Like his matches hadn't been as good. Mm-hmm. He was kind of just getting by on being Mick Foley. And then next thing you know, a table's on fire.
Mm-hmm. Going back to earlier where I said my first foray back into wrestling was Judgment Day 2000. It wasn't. It was WrestleMania 2000. And that was actually the first time I was exposed to Mick Foley, where it was like it was a 4-way. They each had a McMahon in the corner.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that was my first WrestleMania back. And wasn't a fan of Mick Foley's work. McFurley or Todd McFarley.
Todd McFarley. This is a New York thing.
Mick Foley. No, I fucked up. I wasn't a fan of Mick Foley's work, but that's when I don't know, like Triple H, because I had no experience with Hunter Hearst Helmsley or anything like that. And I don't know, I just gravitated toward Triple H. My favorite match of all time, legit my favorite match of all time, is the Rock Triple H, the Iron Man match that they had at Judgment Day after WrestleMania, and where Shawn Michaels was the special guest referee, and then Undertaker made his return as the American Badass that same night. Like that's
you were at that.
No, I wasn't at that. I saw that on pay-per-view. But that's my favorite match belt to
What's
belt.
your favorite match you've ever seen?
Ever seen live? That's a great question. Without any crazy spots or tables, stuff like that, because I've seen a bunch of Hardy stuff and live those with going through the table and what it was like Chuck and I don't want to say Chuck and Larry, Chuck and Billy when they were with Rico, like they put on great matches live, especially when they were in a feud with the Dudleys and with the Hardys at one point. But that Chris Benoit match and Triple H and Shawn Michaels, like that was a real emotional thing, especially when Chris Benoit won, especially at the time, right? Because Vince McMahon always loved like the big diesel dudes and stuff like that. So for somebody like Chris Benoit to win, and this is before like Rey Mysterio really got that push as a small guy, but for somebody like Benoit to win, you know, the chips are always stacked against the little guy in WWE. And then to do it to Triple H and Shawn Michaels, and then for Triple H to tap out, and then the flood of just emotions after he won, like I said, with the confetti and Eddie Guerrero coming down, knowing that they were best friends in real life, hugging in the ring. Like that, to me, that's like wrestling right there, man. Because at the end of it, you want everything to crescendo into this epic emotional moment. And that's exactly what we got as the audience. It was fantastic.
So mine would be Anarchy Rules. It was my first pay-per-view, ECW 2000. And it was the TV title match. Rhino defended his title against RVD and beat him with outside interference. And it was an awesome match. To this day, just blew my... I was really young. It was the first time I'd ever like driven a road trip. I know it was 2000, but I think it was before my birthday. So I would have been 19.
Wow. And
like, you know, I didn't drink back then. I was pretty straight laced, and my friends were partying, and it was just one of those epic, like, coming of age, like, buddies in a van. I borrowed my mom's minivan.
Nice.
And drove up to St. Paul. It was awesome.
Yeah. I guess another special moment, it's not like my favorite match or anything like that, but I was at the pay-per-view. It was in Albany. So because you mentioned driving, so that's why I recalled it. We drove up to Albany. So me and two of my buddies, when Stone Cold came back in the truck after he was out with the neck injury for so long. Mm-hmm. And that was, not Fastlane. I forgot the name of the pay-per-view, but it was in the winter. And he came up, and that was when Rikishi was revealed as like hitting him. So he came in the truck, beat the shit out of Rikishi, and a bunch of stuff. And that's the same night where Kurt Angle took the belt off of the Rock, took the title off of the Rock. But seeing Stone Cold come back, because I didn't watch when he was there. This was my first like real interaction with him as a fan, like him just coming up in the truck like that and just, you know, whipping ass, which was pretty cool. And then as we were leaving, we saw the pickup truck outside, but all the decals were removed with the Stone Cold and the 316 and all that stuff, but you could still see the outline because it was snowing. So it was like that was black, and then everything else had like that snow dust.
That's so cool.
Yeah, so that was real awesome.
I loved Rikishi. I actually dressed as him for a Halloween party once. So can I swerve, see what I did there a bit, Beck? I want your top 3 dislikes and likes about both companies, DJ. Yeah, we've done this previously, so everybody's had my list. Give us 3 things you like about AEW, 3 things you don't like, and then do the same thing to WWE.
That's a lot of things. 3 things I like about AEW. I like them giving the spotlight to different stars of different sizes and stuff like that. It's not always like the big guy getting the shot in some cases. I like the athleticism of the wrestlers. I think for all the flack they get, the Young Bucks are great. Ray Phoenix and Penta are amazing. I love that. Yeah, they just give the opportunity to those people, and they're able to really capitalize on their ring time.
I like Penta's movements, like the scary Skeletor, like weird.
Yeah, dude, those dudes are nasty.
Good facials, like the makeup, everything. It just looks cool.
Yeah, fantastic. I like the final about AEW. I like that they use the older dudes to give rubs to the younger stars. So Sting being with Darby really helped Darby, and it's not just Sting getting all the limelight. It's helping Darby. Christian Cage teaming up with Luchasaurus, now Killswitch, really gave a rub to him. Jericho giving all these young stars like rubs and things like that.
And then NDAs afterwards.
Yeah. Oh shit. I appreciate that.
Ayatollah, a non-disclosure.
That was funny. And it goes back to when Jericho was in WCW, where the old guys like Hogan and those dudes wouldn't like give the young cats no time of day. and like Jericho's really doing the opposite. So I really like that. As far as things I dislike, I think their women's division is not represented the way it should be. I think it's terrible. You have your obligatory match at like 9:10 and it'll come out, whatever. And I think they have really good women's wrestlers over there. Like Britt Baker is fantastic. She's fantastic. There's a bunch of them that are fantastic. So I don't think the women are represented as they should be. Another thing that I seriously dislike about AEW, and it's more a critique of the flippity floppity style of wrestling. No one sells a match. So you can't, I don't know, like fall from the top rope on your knee, sell it for 2 seconds, then do a super kick with that, run the ropes. Like you have to sell the move. And like, I'll be watching it, with Madeline, Mrs. Lynx, and I'll be like, what the hell? And she'll be like, what happened? And I was like, yo, but this guy like fell on his shoulder from the top rope. He's supposed to sell that shoulder injury the entire time. The guy's supposed to attack his shoulder now. And it's just like nothing. So that really, really bothers me.
John Moxley.
Bro, like these dudes don't sell for shit. Another thing that bothers me, and you mentioned John Moxley, is the overuse of blood. Like I think blood, getting color, that should be used for special occasions, like really like blow off matches, like, rubber mat, whatever the case is. Not every fucking match, man. You shouldn't juice every match.
And the juvenile swearing of Moxley. He's like a kid, a backyard wrestling kid.
Yeah. Yeah, Pop.
The way he behaves.
Leave. She like Britt Baker needs to go over to WWE. She'll do fantastic in WWE. Or even TNA. TNA.
Statlander too. Statlander
as well. TNA, since his inception with the Knockouts division, I used to watch it back in the day. I'll still catch up with it on the internet and stuff like that, reviews of the shows. But TNA has an exemplary women's division, and the way they represent the women's wrestlers on TV is absolutely second to none. And that's probably the best thing about TNA. WWE, 3 things I like. The coherent storytelling. I think Triple H as a booker is doing fantastic. Coherent storytelling where everything makes sense. I give like super props for TNA. Another thing that you don't see on TV, but obviously you read in the dirt sheets, the internet, is the morale in WWE, where people are excited to work with Triple H, under Triple H. I was reading this report where it was saying how Vince McMahon will blow at least 4 or 5 gaskets during a filming of Raw, where Triple H hasn't. Obviously he has a heart condition now, but he hasn't like blown his top, got mad at anybody. He knows like if you mess up, that's a consequence on you and your career. How are you going to bounce back? And he's giving all the wrestlers an opportunity to really showcase what they do.
He brought back CM Punk.
Yeah, which is what's best for business, man. Another thing that I like about WWE, dude, and again, it's not really wrestling like athleticism and in the ring stuff, but their production value and their vignettes and intro videos, whatever they do on a production side. And I take stock in that. Like I really take note in that, because from a production level, I study that stuff. You know what I mean? And it is second to none. The way they could edit a montage video at the end of a pay-per-view is
now that Kevin Dunn's gone. I noticed they took a little step back the first week, but now they've got somebody in, because Kevin Dunn really, I mean, I don't think we got to talk about that, but that guy left with 1 week notice.
Yeah. So that's one of those things where they're just cleaning out all of Vince's guys.
Right.
So the funny thing is,
he got insulted in an interview and said, you know what? I've made a lot of money. I'm good. Yeah. Actually, he said, you know what, guys? I've made a lot of money. So I'm out of here.
Oh, shit. Yeah, so it's funny. I was reading this thing. I saw a video on it, and it was like, so you saw how like the segments that were filmed in the club with Piper Niven and Chelsea Green, and then there was another one that was filmed in like a bar setting, like these reality show type vignettes. That those were all filmed under his nose because he had always like X'd those out. And literally the week that he leaves, they show it on TV because that's like, that's almost how AEW are showcasing some of their stuff in their backstage promos. How you mentioned the Chinese restaurant, even though it was horrible, and the shit with Roderick Strong at his house, horrible. But it was just a different way of showcasing that kind of promo and making the story move forward and taking just a different step. And now that he's gone, you already seen 2 of those. So I think that's a positive. WWE things I don't like. I'm never a comedy guy. So some of the comedy stuff is like too much for me. Secondly, Raw being 3 hours. I've always been against a 3-hour Raw. Cut that last hour and you would have
Raw is how I feel at the end of it. Excoriated. Like,
yeah.
Just leave me alone. Like 2 hours, 2 hour show. Let's
2 hours and 5 minutes. Give us that 5-minute run over. And then lastly, and this is because this is what the sponsors want and the sponsors dictate, you don't always have to open up with a promo in the ring.
That's the Kevin Dunn style, and I'm curious if we're going to depart from that. Because Kevin Dunn never cared about wrestling. You've heard that from tons of people that have done shoots on him.
Mm-hmm.
Cornette hates him, and actually didn't celebrate him leaving because Cornette said it involved him leaving with a lot of money and not broke, penniless, and caught in bed with a goat. You got to give it to Jim Cornette. He really knows how to go after a person. But
I love me some Jim Cornette.
Yeah, he hates him.
Who does he hate more, Kevin Dunn or Vince Russo?
Russo, considering he doesn't use his name.
He's gonna piss on his grave. He's waiting for him to die.
Yeah, he has that in his will.
Like he lost weight and everything just so he could outlive Vince Russo.
Yeah. Lost weight and changed the way he ate so he can outlive Vince Russo.
Yeah, that's hilarious. But overall, I think now as a wrestling fan, like having all these alternatives to watch wrestling, WWE obviously is always going to be the pinnacle. AEW still puts on a good product. New Japan Wrestling, TNA. So I saw the highlights from the Hard to Kill pay-per-view, and it's really, I don't know, for lack of a better term, like the production is like cheap over there, but it's still a great product. And let me not say great product, but some of the highlights for that pay-per-view were fantastic. NWA, that's the only one that's just like, how is this shit still in existence? Like watching the highlights. Punk was fucking tired of working with Punk kids and with a super fan running it. 100%, Papa.
Yeah, the Mark booking of AEW.
Yeah,
I just wanted to ask you a question, DJ, and now I'm mad at myself for not looking it up beforehand.
Sure.
I've had to look this up a bunch because I can never. Okay, I should have known. I did know what the answer was. Based on how he looks, how old is Shinsuke Nakamura?
Based on how he looks, Shinsuke Nakamura, I want to say, oh shit, I might get in trouble for this. I want to say maybe like 45, 46.
He's 43.
43. Okay.
Yeah.
I would have thought he was
he looks like he's like 72.
Yeah, he looks ragged, man. I think he
would.
But
it's kind of his thing. It's always been he's looked like that when he was 38.
Mm-hmm. There are some guys that just look old, right? When you watch wrestling like in the 70s, dudes are like 23 looking like they're like 52. Like these bouncers from bars and shit that got into a ring.
That's kind of my criticism of New Japan and Tony Khan, bringing him into AEW. One, I hate that they always assume we know who they are.
I hate that.
Do a package on them. Like, so something that stuck out to me, you're a production guy, so you appreciate this. WWE just never runs a guy to the ring. You will see packages of them leading up, unless it's a true returner that you already know. They never assume. Before you see somebody in their product, you get build-up vignettes of that person explaining who they are and why you should care about them.
Yep, exactly. You have to do that. You have to build it up. You have to treat every episode almost like it's the first time somebody's watching it. So even if they're a return star, you have to drop something in. One of the things, and this is a criticism, this from back in the day, with Hulk Hogan and Ultimate Warrior. So when Warrior was in WCW as the Renegade, and this is something that I seen on pay-per-view or whatever after the fact, like when I was
wasn't the Renegade.
Whatever he was in WCW. Was he Warrior?
Warrior?
Just Warrior.
He was Warrior. One Warrior Nation.
So when him and Hogan got into it, and if you're a WCW fan, let's just say you've never seen Ultimate Warrior, you have no idea who he is, and they're in their promo, and he's like, "I beat you before," because this was post WrestleMania 6, and it's like, dude, like, why would you say that? So you just killed the match almost, because now you mentioned that you beat me when nobody knows who you are.
Hogan was super critical of that too.
Yeah, I think that's dumb, man. You should always treat every show like it's the person's first time watching it, because truthfully it is. Like somebody's gonna stumble onto it, a little kid or whoever, and be like,
it should matter and mean something.
It should definitely mean something. Yeah, I think when they just bring people out like from with AEW, man, even
with the Japanese guys especially, like I had heard of Kota Ibushi. I think I had watched maybe one or two of his matches, but it's not helpful for me to have him come out of the crowd and Excalibur to just go, Kota Ibushi, Kota Ibushi, Kota Ibushi.
Yeah, it's
or
not.
When Ishii came out, this Japanese potato walks to the ring and nobody tells me anything.
That's the guy with the neck, like.
Yeah, Mr. Potato Head.
Bro, I saw that and I'm like, who the hell is this guy? Like, I don't watch New Japan. Who the hell is this guy?
I didn't know who he was. And I was like, oh, this potato looks really angry with John Moxley and Eddie Kingston.
Yeah. He looks like what's his name? Ram Jam or whatever from He-Man.
And
like the guy that goes bing.
And some of AEW's camera work, like I get it, you don't have the huge production budget of WWE, but can we not have downward shots of Eddie Kingston out of breath, sitting on the ground with his gut like up to his freaking past his nipples?
Yeah, like
just breathing heavy. He looked bad. He looked unhealthy.
Yeah, he did. Papa asks how you like AEW production compared to WWE, and their Titantron and AEW shit. WWE's production is second to none. Like they're the bar. No one is touching WWE production ever. AEW, I kind of like. Do they still do it where like the heels and the faces, they come out of different
nope
alleys? They don't do that anymore. That was cool when they were doing that. Yeah, WWE is second to none. I do miss WWE though in their entrance packages. Speaking of the Tron, when they would show like highlights of matches and stuff like that. Now it's just the name, and then the graphic or whatever during the match, where you can see the match on TV for the people that are in attendance. I think that added to it. AEW's production, it's not lacking. I know they incorporated some cool stuff with the backstage vignettes in the beginning. I don't know if they still do it, but when the Young Bucks
recently they hired somebody too from the WWE.
Yeah, to run all their production stuff. But before they even hired that dude, like the Young Bucks stuff was dope. It seemed like it was filmed on a regular camera on a gimbal. Like it wasn't like super overproduced. And I think that's what AEW should kind of lean for. You don't want to emulate what WWE does. You should always shoot for the top, try to take the champion down, but realistically, you have to go full throttle into what you're good at. And that's like indie style wrestling, guerrilla style production, guerrilla style camera movements and things like that. And you should really like lean into that, because that's what your core fan base, what they're going to be introduced to and that they're going to like. And then if you're doing something good, you're going to see it on WWE, just like these little backstage vignettes that they just did these last 2 weeks. But yeah, WWE's production is insane, bro.
Yeah. Pop, you about ready to wind this up? Mr. DJ Lynx, we thank you for coming on and talking about your WrestleMania, for bringing that awesome program with you. Dude, that thing's tight. I wish I had a program. I don't think I kept mine. over there.
Yeah, I remember going and I was just like, I need to buy something. I was never big into like merch and wrestling shirts and stuff like that because I've never been big into having, contrary to this sweater, like having like graphic t-shirts and stuff. Like I've always been like white t-shirt, black t-shirt, things like that. But I definitely wanted something and I'm glad I got that, and I kept it in good condition in a box in the closet. And I'm glad I was able to find it to show you guys, man. And I'm super appreciative of the invitation to come on here. I don't get to talk wrestling enough, man, and I love it.
And I don't know if there will be a show next week, Pop. If you run one, that's all good. But I won't be here next week. We thank DJ. DJ, anything you want to plug tomorrow night? You've got In the Mix, I'm sure.
Yeah, thank you. So tomorrow night we have In the Mix at 9 p.m. Eastern. So my birthday's on Saturday, and the way I want to celebrate is, celebrating with my dudes on In the Mix on Friday, tomorrow at 9 p.m. And, I always give back to the community. Yesterday I had a Whatnot sale. Thank you, Michael, for picking up a book. I greatly appreciate that. I had a Whatnot sale. My intention for that Whatnot sale was to take that money and give it away on In the Mix. And that's exactly what we're doing. We're going to do
son of a gun.
We're going to do trivia-based giveaways. So I got a couple of questions. Whoever gets it right in the chat, you'll get a spin on the wheel. There's going to be $250 on that wheel. And that's what I made at the Whatnot on yesterday. And we're just going to give that right back to the community. That's how we roll. I love this comic book community, being a part of it. And I always like to give back. And that's the way I want to celebrate, man, by giving back.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
Biggie Shack, we want to thank you for being here earlier. Biggie Shack will have the club, I'm sure, tomorrow. Check out that guy's channel. Papa Wheelie, what do you got? Better be a wrestling quiz. You gotta let Pop have at least one wrestling question on your deal.
So just to be warned, it's not going to be a trivia thing where it's just like, who beat Batman over here? The questions are going to be based on In the Mix. So it's going to be stuff that actually happened during the last year of In the Mix, where it's like all the guys were there, not anything prior to it.
If one of the answers is Nikki Pancakes, I think I can get it.
So it's going to benefit the longtime watchers, and it's just like giving back to the core audience, right? So if something happened, that might be a question. And obviously things are going to be funny, so it's not going to be anything like obscure.
Yeah, I'm aware of the name of the room that you guys got thrown out of at Heroes Con. So maybe I'll be able to get something like that right.
Nice. I don't even remember the name of the room.
I don't want to say it out loud, but it's Blue 2.
Oh, wow. That's crazy that you remember that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think for this Heroes Con, you're not going, right? You said?
I'm not. Yeah. Sorry, man.
Yeah, I think we need to just like rent the conference room if we're going to do that.
Yeah. I think if you guys had cleared it with them in advance. But this is all talk. We can do this later. Wrestle Talk. If you've got a name for this show, help us out. Thank you to the chat. Thank you to Pop. And thank you to DJ Biggie. We're out.
Peace, y'all.
Maybe. Pop always leaves me hanging for a minute. That's all right.